At 6, the Princess of Wales has just announced that she is undergoing treatment for cancer. Here now is a very personal message from her, which has just been released, in which she explains what has been happening in recent weeks.
In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present.
There was a moment, a quiet bench in a garden, the soft sound of birds in the distance, and the camera rolling as she looked into the lens. In that fragile instant, everything changed for Catherine. Princess of Wales, what appeared to be a composed public figure, revealed something far more human, far more vulnerable, and far more courageous than any royal photo op. A world watching, a story of strength, of struggle, of hope. What you're about to witness is not tabloid sensationalism, but the deeper arc of a person in the spotlight, not only as a princess, not only as a public figure, but as someone facing one of life's greatest tests.
It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful.
This is the story of her revelation, her private fight, her return, and how one moment on live television became the catalyst for a profound shift in public empathy and personal meaning. Stay with me, because we'll go behind the polished facades into the silent hospital corridors, the whispered fears, the solitary recovery. We'll trace how a woman known for grace and dignity let her guard slip, and in doing so, left the nation in awe. The quiet after Christmas 4 weeks she had been absent. The cameras, the crowds, the customary engagements, all were paused. In January 2024, after what was described as planned abdominal surgery, Catherine vanished from the usual public view. The world wondered, was she ill? What was going on? The palace issued only gentle reassurances. The media churned with speculation. The silence grew louder than any statement. In that vacuum, the image of the perfect royal wife, mother, and future queen began to crack, and the cracks became visible. And then she spoke. The bench video, released in March, offered no dramatics, no overt declaration, just truth. She told us her surgery revealed something unexpected. Cancer had been present. It was simple, devastating, human.
In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous.
The version of herself the public knew shifted in a heartbeat. The announcement. That broke the silence seated on a bench at Windsor. Catherine faced the camera. Her tone measured, voice steady, yet underneath it, something trembled. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery. At the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. She paused. She accepted the diagnosis. She asked for time, space, privacy, a request seldom granted to those who stand in the limelight. This came as a huge shock, she said. William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately. But most importantly, we have explained everything to George, Charlotte, and Louis in a way that is appropriate for them. That moment shattered conventional expectations. Here was royalty, stripped of royal armor. Here was a mother, a wife, a person who simply said, "I'm going through something serious." And by doing so, she changed the conversation forever. The private battle becomes public. What followed was the collision of two worlds, the hush of the hospital corridors and the glare of public speculation. Reports revealed that Catherine was undergoing preventative chemotherapy. The choice of words, preventative chemotherapy, hinted at fear of unseen enemies, of cancer lurking beyond detection. In the silence of her recovery, there were moments of dread. There were nights when the future felt uncertain, but there were also moments of resolve. She pledged to focus on healing in my mind, body, and spirits. And she urged others facing cancer, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone. That plea came from the heart. Through the months, the world watched, some with admiration, others with curiosity, but the tone had shifted. No longer was she simply a royal figure. She was a human being fighting a fight that so many fight in silence. The first public step forward June 2024. The annual parade, Trooping of the Color, roared with tradition. The salute of aircraft, the flourish of horse guards, the cheering crowds. And there in the carriage came Catherine, wearing white, offering a smile. It was her first major public appearance since her diagnosis. It was not a triumphal return, but a tentative arrival, a statement of presence rather than pomp. The very act of showing up carried weight, because the world knew what had happened behind the scenes. And in that presence, white dress and careful poise spoke volumes. As the carriage moved along the mall and the cheers rang out, something shifted in how she was perceived. No longer solely the poised future queen, she was someone who had been tested, and by simply being there with quiet dignity, she had already won something meaningful. Nature as solace in the healing process. The princess found refuge in another world, the outdoors. On a quiet trip to the Lake District, Catherine spoke of a very spiritual and very intense emotional reconnection. Among hills, lakes, and windswept fields, she found space to breathe, regenerate, to remember life beyond salons and the palace. The images were not grand. They were simple. A family walking, trees rustling overhead, children laughing. These fragments of real life, away from the limelight, became part of her narrative, the story of someone grounding. And for the public, it offered something. It reminded us that greatness can coexist with vulnerability, that power can be paired with gentleness, and that nature, in its quiet way, can hold the soul when the world demands everything. The children witness it out. She had asked for privacy, but the children were part of the journey. In her statement, she acknowledged explaining softly to her children what was happening. George, Charlotte, Louis, the youngest members of a royal future, being told that their mother was fighting a silent war. What must it be like to sit with your mother, watch her recover, know that she is strong yet fragile, that the world watches? These private scenes remain unseen, but their impact is real. In those moments, roles shift. Parent becomes preoccupier, child becomes support, and for the audience, it brought new depth. Walking into that public set piece with her children by her side in June was symbolic. The family was not hiding. They were moving through the storm together, and that matters. Getting stronger every day. Recovery isn't linear. Catherine acknowledged this when she said she was well and getting stronger every day, and she didn't pretend it was easy. Later, in an engagement at a well-being center, she admitted the post-treatment phase was really difficult. These admissions are rare in royal discourse. They are raw in a way that royal messaging seldom is. They invite empathy. They break the mold. The message isn't of flawless recovery. The message is of perseverance. In those months, she returned to her charities. She returned to engagements, not to reclaim her place, but to redefine what presence means, to show that one can be strong in new ways, quiet ways. That healing is part of public life, not an interruption of it. A nation's reflection. The public response was sweeping. Messages of support. Letters from people whose lives have been touched by cancer. Social media echoes of hope. Her journey resonated because it didn't feel distant. It felt personal, and that shift is power. The future queen navigating mortality. Suddenly, the royal institution felt human, touched by the same fragility as the rest of us. That matters. Because when people see someone they hold up as a symbol also going through it, it bridges the divide. In the weeks after her return, commentators noted how her public appearances no longer felt about grandeur, but about connection. The applause at Trooping felt less about spectacle and more about relief, solidarity, admiration. The story had changed the storyteller, the unseen strength behind the crown, behind the tiaras, the state visits, the choreographed smiles. There was another story of preparation, of patience, of rewiring one's identity. Catherine once was defined by her role in public life. Now she was defined by her resilience. Whether walking in nature, spending time in quiet, returning to duty, the elements of her journey were stitched together by a central truth. Strength is not absence of fear. It is the choice to act despite fear. And in that sense, the crown doesn't change. The woman under it does. She became an ambassador for healing, a quiet voice for those who fight in silence. A reminder that vulnerability is not weakness, it's humanity embodied with dignity. The moment that left everyone in awe. The moment on live television wasn't the announcement itself, it was the after effect. People spoke of how she looked at the camera, open, unwavering, connected. The shock of the message, yes, but also the calm of the delivery. A still image of her on that bench will linger. Soft light, subtle emotion, a princess in a situation no royal hopes to be in. Yet, she turned it into something larger than monarchy, into a story of love, of family, of survival. The world watched, the world paused, and the world reflected in this way. She didn't just break down, she broke through. And the awe wasn't in her posture or in the crown, it was in her humanity. In the end, this wasn't just a royal announcement. It was one woman saying, yes, this is happening, and I'm here anyway. The story of Catherine, Princess of Wales, isn't neatly wrapped up. It carries forward into recovery, into return, into meaning. And perhaps what remains most powerful is this, that the public figure who once stood apart now stands with us. Because in that bench video, in that quietly poised return, in those simple walks in nature, she invited us into her humanity and reminded us of our own. So when the lights fade, the cameras dim, what lingers is the question. What does it mean for each of us to face our moment of truth? To stand, not despite our fears, but in spite of them? To be real in the face of expectation. For Catherine's journey touches something universal, the way we respond when life demands everything. And yet, we keep going. Leave the story with that. Not as a headline, not as a spectacle, but as a testament that courage can be quiet, that leaders can heal, that being seen, truly seen, can transform us all.